Patch 6.22 notes. This is going to be the beginning of the preseason for Season 7. As you may have noticed, there's been a huge lack of content lately. I thrive off of suggestions, so if somebody wants to see something covered, then, you know, I want to be the person that fills that niche, right, so to speak. So this is going to be a patch notes video. This will probably kick off a decent amount of requests for certain masteries, or basically any questions you have I'm willing to take, and I probably will respond with a video if there's enough information there for me to cover. A big thing that I'm going to be looking to do here soon is little mini jungle guides based on the new changes. So we'll have all of that to look forward to. Now the assassin updates themselves, those will all be covered in mastery videos. Stealth mechanics are basically being changed into two different types of invisibility, and they're choosing to give this to Twitch. Rengar's ultimate and obviously Eve's passive is noted because that's a good example of how this mechanic currently works. So it's being extended to these other champions. And invisibility, effectively, these things aren't going to be interacting with any vision revealing mechanics, so these champions are only revealed by turrets. The main reason that invisibility champions would need to be revealed by turrets is so that somebody doesn't go invisible as they're tower diving you. There are a decent amount of invisibility champions in here. Vayne is being changed into that, so anyone with invisibility pretty much got the best form of stealth that there is. Twitch, Rengar, and Evelynn, I think they were good candidates for camouflage. It was a little bit too broken, the way they used their stealth. Something also to note is that Shimmer will be the mechanic where if you hit someone that is stealthed, whether they be invisible or camouflaged, then they'll give off a shimmer up to 1 times a second. So this just means that skill shot champions, you'll be able to track them down all that much easier even if they're just hit by AoE. So if there's an invisible Teemo next to you and you AoE him, then he's going to give off a shimmer. So this is a big nerf to that type of playstyle in general. That goes along with the control wards. They're basically removing vision wards and swapping them with control wards. Now control wards reveal camouflage but not invisibility. As I noted before, invisibility doesn't interact with anything except towers. And control wards, interestingly enough, they disable nearby enemy hidden traps in sight wards in a 900 unit radius. So I'm just reading this all directly from the patch notes here. But it's important to note that control wards are visible to the enemy team while they're disabling a ward. So you're not just going to have your ward disabled constantly and not know what's going on. You'll have some idea what's going on based on intentional visual cues that they're going to add into the game. So don't think that this is a terrible thing right off the bat. This will be something that we're going to have to see how it plays out, and if it's better than pink wards than the way they exist currently, then that's a win for the game. So I'm actually in favor of that. Ward rewards, you can't lifesteal off them anymore, but they give experience. So you're going to be more careful about where you're placing your wards. If it's likely to get swept out, then you're basically just handing over free experience, which, while not always a huge deal, is something to consider. The problem that a lot of these assassins had is that as they note in the forward here, is they have a snowball problem. The items that they build are just too cheap for the stats that they give. So you can expect that armor pen items are being nerfed across the board here. Armor pen runes. It seems like they're kind of compensating for the runes and the masteries by kind of buffing up Duskblade. So with Duskblade, the more lethality you have, the more your Duskblade damage will be, which is the mini death mark is gone. It's just now it does extra damage out of stealth, and it gives movement speed. You'll see most of these items now give movement speed out of combat. And Poacher's Dirk. This is going to be something that kind of helps incentivize AD junglers. I think flat attack damage will be a huge consideration this season. And this is mainly because... not only flat attack damage. Flat attack damage and flat ability power will be huge considerations in the jungle this season. Based around how the reward structures are set up. Anything that helps you clear the jungle faster will net you more in the long run as a result. Flat attack damage, that's going to melt the red buff because it has negative armor now. These are all things that you want to consider when you're speccing your champions. So, something that may have been really good last season may not be so good this season. And that's strictly based on all of the changes interacting together to form a new meta. And you'll absolutely see that. Edge of Night is one of the items that has the highest potential to be picked up on AD carry. Tanks, bruisers, they would also be pretty happy with this item. Having a 10-second spell shield in combination with some of the new masteries, some of these combinations are really strong. Ghostblade, as I see it, is getting nerfed pretty heftily. They kind of wanted to take this away from Jhin, I feel like. So maybe Jhin will build Duskblade still probably. And then straight into Edge of Night is what I think. So Duskblade, Edge of Night, that'll be your new Jhin build. And then you'll go from there. It's too early to call on the rest of the build. But I would imagine Rapid Fire Cannon and Infinity Edge would be good after that as well. Maul of Malmortius is getting considerably nerfed, so this is going to have a lot less armor pen. You can look at it like that. And it's going to have cooldown reduction, so that means that they kind of buffed the passive to make up for all the nerfing that they're doing to it. And it will also build out of Caulfield's Hammer instead of Serrated Dirk to kind of go in line with their removal of armor pen from the item. They really want this to be in the sustained fighter category, so by taking away some of the reliable damage that Maul of Malmortius used to be, this is going to be clearly sustained fighter weapon now. Plants are a fairly straightforward system that I'm not going to cover. You can watch Riot's coverage of it. I'm kind of disgusted with the addition, to be honest. But throughout preseason, we'll have different videos at different times. Throughout the preseason, we'll have different videos that will probably have plants in them, but they're not going to be the main focus of my coverage this year. I'm going to live with them instead of making them a focus. They'll just kind of be there. And you'll figure them out once you play with it a few times. So, Smite bonus. Smite is always going to heal now. This is in line with them removing the Smite bonuses. Nothing much to see here. On-hit damage is going up on Machete, and the lifesteal is going up. Because this is supposed to be a harder jungle, the rewards are better. The respawn timers are longer. And there's no more Smite rewards. So, if you relied on Gromp to clear now, maybe you run more attack speed instead to try and make use of the buff Machete. So there's a lot of considerations to make here as well. Maybe mana regeneration becomes not as important when you can regain all this life, and by virtue of doing more damage, you actually save even more life. So this 8 to 10% number could just as easily have been 8 to 12% when you account for the extra damage. And not only does it displace more damage that you would have taken, the higher value will make it so that you lifesteal for more. The higher value on both sides. So if you want to look at it like that, it's getting about like a 5 to 10% boost in effectiveness for healing, all things considered. The main thing with my style of review and preparation for masteries and whatnot, itemization, how you play the early game, these are all going to be approximations because there's no one right way to play the game. And if you get too caught up in the numbers instead of being able to see what the actual change really means, then you can just sit here all day comparing numbers and not get anywhere. But if you make a definitive call and say, okay, this is going to be much better on champions that need attack speed, right? Because the more you attack, the more Machete's going to do. So high base attack speed junglers will do good with new Machete. That's a conclusion you can make that simple numbers will not be able to tell you. We're going to skip the camp updates. This is going to be adequately covered with my jungle coverage. Rift Herald is going to spawn at 10 minutes in the game as opposed to 6 minutes in the game. It'll also have 20 less damage right off the bat. So basically, they were seeing this as not being a contestable objective. They were seeing this as not a meaningful objective when they intended it to be a strength for split pushers. So by lowering the damage, they're hoping that more people will take it. And instead of being a trap where taking it at 6 minutes into the game may possibly be a good thing, it mostly ended up being a negative thing for the team taking it. So it's inevitably a trap in and of itself. So they're fixing that. And I really like that because they're also introducing plants. So at least make sure everything else is up to par. If you're going to try some new thing like plants, now is the time. Preseason is the time. This is a huge change actually for Elder Dragon. It means that you're no longer punished for taking earlier dragons when you want to be able to take the Elder Dragon. Their main consideration here was that dragon buff wasn't long enough, Elder Dragon buff. So they're adding 30 seconds onto that, which would be pretty considerable, especially if you have the buff duration mastery. So you're just going to get even more value out of your mastery now. And to top it off, you'll just be able to take Elder Dragon just as quickly as a team with 0 dragons, if you're used to the patch the way it is right now. I'm sure if you're watching this after the preseason has been out somewhat for a while, then that doesn't make sense because I'm talking about the preseason as it exists before patch 6.22. So please keep that in mind. Most of this first impression is based on what I'm seeing on the patch notes before actually playing it. And if you want to know my opinions on what's going to happen with each individual champion, be sure to leave a comment and I will do a specific video based on your requests. Another change here with minions, they're just basically making it so that melee minions are tankier, ranged minions are less tanky, and ranged minions hit harder. So it's kind of hard to see what these changes are going to do right off the bat. I think that it's more in line with their goals for the game to have minions be a little bit tankier. They're finding interactions where certain champions at their current numbers just wave clear too easily, so This will add additional nuance to the game and additional balance levers for them. So I see this as a good thing, even if it continues to get tweaked, or even if they fully revert it. It's a good way for them to get a handle on systems of the game that are typically out of their control. And if I remember correctly, this is more like Season 1. So seem to be going back to their roots, which is something that I'm increasingly proud of them for getting rid of the lasers they introduced 2 years ago too. So the Inhib and Nexus Tower will no longer have the slowing laser. It'll be regular turret shots. Furthermore, they're clarifying how much damage you'll take with turret shots. So they're streamlining turrets, making it so that they all feel the same. It's easy to tell what they're going to do. This is good. Aegis basically getting removed. Nobody's going to take it. Locket of the Iron Wire. This is going to replace the current Aegis and Locket, obviously. Because people are going to buy this for the increased shield. And if you have all these shield masteries stacked on top of each other at the same time, their value diminishes slightly. Unless you can go through all of that damage and soak it all, you're not going to have as much benefit from it. Banner of Command is now kind of like a tank item. I kind of look at this like if you have Banner of Command and Z-Route Portal, that might be a good combo now. Outside of that, it's going to be heavily nerfed on AP champions because it's not going to give any meaningful benefits, but they're mainly beefing it up in armor and magic resist and giving it some decent build path, which you know, when you're completely redesigning an item, you have a little bit more freedom in that regard. I think this item will still be decent on Heimerdinger, but not full AP Heimerdinger, just tank. ZZ-Ra and Banner of Command Heimerdinger might be a thing. We're gonna skip most of this because it's like support stuff. And I have a pretty good handle on what it all is already. We'll just briefly go through it. Basically, this is going to be cheaper, so you can pick it up faster. Chalice of Harmony is also going to give health regen based on your mana regen, based on the bonus mana regen. This is a new item that is basically all for the active. It has token amounts of health and token amounts of cooldown reduction, but it gives you the 10% heal and shield power. So the active on this item is actually pretty interesting. Target an area within 5,500 range. After 2.5 seconds, you call down a beam of light to heal allies for 130 plus 20 per target's level. Burn enemy champions for 10% of their maximum health as true damage, and deal 250 true damage to enemy minions. 120 second cooldown, can be used while dead, and half the effect of the target has been affected by another redemption recently. So this is going to be somewhat stackable. You could see some supportive junglers picking up this item like Nunu, and maybe the support having one, but it'll have 50% effectiveness based on the damage that they've been taking recently. That's still a pretty sizable AoE, so the extra healing, that'll benefit Nunu slightly. That's not the main reason you would pick it. You mainly pick it for the active, like I was saying. So that could be an interesting item, and I'm not 100% sure if that will be limited to support or if there'll be other champions in the game that want to pick that up. Ardent Sensor basically grants less on-hit damage, but now gives you more on-hit heal. So this is pretty interesting. Heal and shield powers being slightly reduced is going to be right in line with the new item Redemption. So out of the two items, I would have to give the clear edge to Redemption here. I don't think Ardent Sensor will be bought as much nearly anymore because, quite frankly, if you're talking about an on-hit heal, which is what that looks like, basic attacks to restore 20 health, It's actually more effective for the AD carry to purchase the lifesteal because it's not restricted by some arbitrary number. It actually will continue to scale. So Ardent Sensor pretty much got thrown to the dumpster, and Redemption will be the new item to go for. If you previously got Ardent Sensor, Redemption is your item. Mikhail's Crucible, they're just doing some fancy stuff with it. No longer heals, has no travel time, grants your target slow immunity, and successful cleanses also grant movement speed. So that's pretty good. Cost is going down. This is just flat out getting cheaper. This is going to be for your tanky or supports or top laners that are like primary initiators, because basically what you're going to do is stick by whoever you're trying to peel for. If your partner is nearby, gain 15% movement speed when moving towards them and 40 additional armor. See, that gives you an incentive to peel. It kind of works the same as Zeke's Herald, designating an allied champion as your partner. So what people will do is get 2 of these, and you one of them will be on the AD carry and one of them will be on the mid. So you can just kind of go back and forth and buff each other up here. This is called I Got You Fam, which it's kind of I'm struggling with what to call this. Riot, just shut the fuck up, man. Shut the fuck up, fam. Anyway, if your partner is nearby, heal for 12% of the damage your partner deals to champions, or redirect 12% of the damage your partner takes from champions to you. That's true damage. So you're able to kind of do the Bond of Stone thing. I think this item does Bond of Stone better than Bond of Stone does. So maybe in combination with that mastery, someone like Braum will be like even more oppressive to deal with when he's peeling. Vayne with against the Braum with Knight's Vow. How are you ever going to get through that before she kills you? Because she only needs 7 true damage procs to kill you, no matter what your items are. So I'm calling it now. Braum with Knight's Vow and Vayne bottom lane is going to be absolutely insane this season. And I'm calling that based on just having read this now. I'm not calling that with advanced knowledge. This is all theory craft. This is all theoretical. But if you go back and watch some of my videos from Season 6, you'll see that most of what I said when it was theoretical actually became true. Face of the Mountain now also shields you when cast on an ally. Now also shields the nearest low health ally when cast on yourself. Basically throwing this item of own because, you know, why not? They just buffed the shit out of everything else. They might as well make this okay. Item efficiency pass, they're just doing a bunch of work on the support items. They're just like lowering the cost of all of them. Alistar's E and his passive are basically switching, so he's going to have a mana-less heal. And there's other aspects of his kit that are basically getting nerfed, like his Pulverize will no longer stun for half a second after the knockout. And his ultimate will no longer grant attack damage while active, which is actually a pretty significant nerf to anyone that played AP Alistar. Both of these nerfs together will make the champion basically a lot weaker than it would have been with the new trample. We'll have to see how good this spell is, whether or not people will still play it. I think he's going to be really good in support. Probably not as good as he used to be, but it'll be more matchup reliant. Ambush now camouflages Twitch. Ambush now camouflages Twitch. W leaves a gas cloud. So the cool thing about his W is that it's going to add stacks based on how long they stay in the cloud, which is something that his current W is lacking, and I think it's going to be really good. This is the best change that they made in these patch notes, is renaming his ult to Spray and Pray. This is the original name, and I have no idea why they changed it to begin with, but hopefully the devs that changed it are long gone. This champion is going to be insane now, due to his clear speed and not actually having to take any damage. So he's still going to take Hunter's Talisman because Machete doesn't benefit him in any way. He's just getting buffed and buffed and buffed. So he's going to become sleeper OP at some point. I think mainly because tanks are probably going to come back into favor with the assassins being strong again. So there will be tons of sustained damage dealing assassins out there. There will be tanks, and there will be Ivern, who hits level 5 before mid lane. So that route exists. Just know that that route exists for Ivern, and it only involves taking 1 or 2 of your camps. So how you play against an Ivern, you probably want to invade at level 1. Just saying. You probably want to invade this guy so he doesn't hit level 5 before you. Because if he does, he's very good at sort of winning unexpected fights. Put it that way. Kled now remounts more quickly. W damage is down. These are pretty good follow-up changes to Nara. He felt kind of off to me. Like, his W dealt like way too much damage. And whenever you did get dismounted, he just doesn't feel very good at all. So his total remount time, which will also lower his invulnerability, his invulnerability window, is going to be half a second from 1 second. Abyssal Scepter no longer will reduce magic resistant aura. It'll now just deal increased magic damage. It'll give nearby enemy champions an aura that makes them take 10% more magic damage. So that is fairly useful. If you take an Abyssal Scepter off the field, then you're actually doing a lot of work for your team. So let's say you steal someone's blue buff. They're just taking so much more damage when you get in range. Because you'll have your Abyssal Scepter more than likely if you're facing an Abyssal. And with the removal of Aegis, this item would have been really overpowered if left in the same state it was. Another item they wanted to give a pass to was Hextech Protobelt, and as a result, Revolver was a pretty overpowered component for how much that it costs. It gave like a decent amount of burst. So Hextech Protobelt will still be really good. Maybe not in conjunction with Abyssal Scepter as much, but probably just as good as before. Now these are the mastery changes. There's probably too many to go over here. So I'm going to assume that most of you are capable of reading through the patch notes. Double-edged sword is my new favorite mastery. Fervor Battle is getting kind of a change from the current system to a stack system. This is going to be similar to the old blade weaving, and they're giving it like the full treatment. So this is like the manifestation of what blade weaving had the potential to be years ago, but they're doing it right now. This is going to be really good Jax mastery. Because precision in the cunning trees, losing the flat armor penetration is being what's called lethality, and they're trying to make it seem like lethality is the same thing as flat armor pen, but really it's not. It's going to be a lot worse. So lethality pretty much goes against what flat armor pen is supposed to be. So you're going to be paying basically the same price for something that gives you much less damage. So as a result, people are going to probably opt for lethality in their masteries, where they can take it in percentage lethality, percentage armor penetration from the ferocity tree is going to be the better way to go. Because as far as I know, they haven't really touched. I'll have to see this on live to confirm, but I haven't seen them touch the armor penetration, mastery, and ferocity. It's not listed here. Alright. So the rest of the mastery changes I will be covering in individual videos. So the other things you're going to need to get ready for is solo duo queue, and the new client. That's about all I've got for this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure that you give me like some indication that you made it this far in the video, and be sure to ask a question. Like I want to know what is on your mind. What parts of the 2017 season do you not understand, and what are you excited for?